everyone, welcome back to Eastwick Cottage Garden. Today is the 29th of April and I'm going to be doing my end of April garden walk, so I'd like you to come along with me and we'll see what's occurring in the garden. So the area in front on the street side of the fenced in garden is pretty much the same. We have hellebores getting ready to go to seed and some that are still blooming. This is a fresh bloom. And the euphorbia is blooming out nicely. And I think that the columbine is getting ready to put out its blooms as well in this area. We planted this fire alarm heuchera, and it has its bloom spikes are starting to open and show its flowers. The tiger grass in this corner bed is also starting to grow. So it gets probably about, I would say, 6 feet tall and puts out beautiful plumes in the fall. The red rose in this bed has some buds on it. So we should be seeing some roses here on this, I guess, in the next few weeks or so. And we saw in the last garden tour that the mock orange, or Philadelphus, has its flower buds on it and they are swelling up nicely. So hopefully we'll be able to get a lovely, lovely show. And all of the crepe myrtles are leafing out very nicely. I love the red foliage. Goal when planting these was to have the red foliage of the crepe myrtle up against the white flowers of the mock orange, and that's never happened. So maybe this year would be the year that they will both be at the same time. The dogwood here is starting to leaf out, but it still has some of its beautiful pink coloring on it. We added some plants in this front garden bed expansion. We added this Living Easy rose. We added some lobelia. Now this looks a little sad. It looked even worse earlier today. We went from, if you're not on the East Coast in the mid-Atlantic area, we went from temperatures in the mid-50s on Saturday to being 90 degrees today. So it was like in the 70s yesterday, and then like pretty much 90 degrees today, and it did not take that well. When I looked out in the morning, everything was beautiful and flushing out, and I was excited that I was going to be able to do a garden tour after work. And then I looked out around noon and everything looked horrendous. So I was able to get some water on these, and you can see that this is kind of crispy, but at least they're standing up. This was totally drooping earlier today, so I think it'll be okay. I did put a bunch of water on these. These are the gardenia that we planted. So we have the rose and the lobelia, the gardenia, and we also planted these lupin, which they're starting to bloom. I know Patty was saying that she was excited for them to be blooming, and here you go, Patty. They are starting to show their show. Also, I noticed today that the irises are starting to put up their flower spikes. So in this area, this is the area underneath the Japanese maple, which I forgot to show you guys in the mid-April garden tour, but I will be showing you because it looks really, really pretty, although it's starting to green out because the temperatures are getting hotter. But this is the heuchera. This one is the Delta Dawn, and I just love the red flat leaf with the chartreuse edging. It's starting to put its flower spikes out. And this is paprika, which is also around the fenced-in garden area. But they are doing very, very, very well and looking lovely. The daffodils all around the property are waning off, so I will come through and deadhead them in the next week or so. Is the Japanese maple tree, and I really fertilized it this year, and I think the benefit of having that oak tree down and the fertilization has really helped this to start to come back in its true form. It was much more red earlier in the month, but it'll red up again in this fall as the weather cools down. A lot of work in this bed here with the phlox blooming out and the geums looking amazing. I'm very happy to be able to report that this lone red twig dogwood seems to be making the cut, so I think it'll be okay. Here is one of the tiger lilies that we moved. I'm going to come through and put some more water on them, but they're doing very well. And here's the peony, the peony that's one of the 3 peonies, and I think I see red on here, so this is either the, I don't want to say the wrong ones, but I have 2 red ones. I think I have red, pink, and a white. So this is definitely not the Shirley Temple. The back and black sedum is coming up well. And here's another one of the tiger lilies that we planted that I think are doing well. There's only one that I'm kind of worried about, and that was the one that I had talked about before, that it didn't have much of a root ball, and it's on top of the root system from the oak tree. So, but here's another one of the geum and the phlox, and this is the one that I think is not doing so brilliantly back here. But this is one that's I think it's doing really well. So I think they'll be okay in this bed, and it'll be a nice addition. And here, this back and black sedum is starting to put on some flower buds. This is the other peony, and it doesn't have any flower buds on it, so I wonder if I've planted this one too deep. I'll see what this does this year, and then maybe raise it up in the fall to maybe help it bloom better. So coming back into the orchard bed, the sun is in the backyard now, so it might be a little bit glary, so I apologize for that. But we can see that the sky pencil holly is putting on a lot of new growth. I'm very excited about that. They're all getting thicker at the bottom, so that is nice. And I just really love these red twig dogwoods. I think the foliage is really striking. And here are the Artemisia wormwood silver mound, looking beautiful. So we will try to maintain this progress and keep them looking as beautiful as possible through the season. I really love the way they feel. They're really soft, and I love the soft mossy green element that they add to the garden. And you can see here that my dianthus, this one is called key lime. It's a white one with a yellow throat. I had one bloom, but the bloom is gone now on another plant. But soon they will be blooming, and I'll be able to show you them probably sometime in May. And the Walker's Low catmint is doing brilliantly, along with, look at all of these blooms that have come up on the salvia midnight model. And this dianthus is blooming. This one is Firestar, and it's tagged right there. It is looking amazing. And also along with my Delosperma, or ice plant, that is starting to go to sleep. I don't know how much you guys know about ice plants, if you guys grow them, but at nighttime the blooms close up and then they open up in the sun. It's very nice. And here's the popcorn drift rose, one of them that's doing really well. But what I want to show you is how mahusively giant the Coronation Gold Achillea or Yarrow are doing. I don't have to bend down to touch them anymore. They're just right here. And look at all of the flower buds that are on here. It's going to be magnificent. And these are the agapanthus, little galaxy agapanthus. They're coming up nicely, along with the Japanese anemone. These are Prince Henry. Oh, you can see here one of the buds for the key lime dianthus. There's another drift of the Midnight Model salvia, which are doing brilliantly, absolutely brilliantly. So I can't wait to see this. Well, you can kind of get a hint, because here are the Sunjoy Barberry Gold Pillar. So I love the blue and the yellow combination here. And this Artemisia is doing well. It's coming in. And there's Mr. Sassy Frog. And here is the largest of the columbine. They're all the same columbine, but this one is growing the fastest. And you can see that it is about to throw out its flowers. And the lavender here is putting on new growth, so I'm glad about this one, because this one was the one that didn't look so great, but it is putting out its new growth as well. Here in the orchard area, this is the plum tree. I'm not sure if we're going to get any plums this year. This blooms out really early and kind of gets hit by frost. I did try to protect it with those frost cloths. I don't know how well that went, but it is flushed out with the greenery very nicely. But anyway, and either way, hopefully one year we will be able to get some plums off of this. Hold on, stop the presses. Here, I'll try to get it in the camera. Here's a little teeny weeny tiny plum, so maybe we'll get a couple of these. That would be very exciting. Our strawberry plants doing really, really well. There's a ton of blooms on this one. So I'm going to be building a cage to go over this so that the squirrels, birds, and whatnot do not eat the strawberries before we get a chance to get any. Yes, I see down here there are a couple forming up. So I got to get this cage operation happening very quickly. Our autumn gold, or I could call it the wrong thing. Our fall gold raspberries are doing well. They're growing nicely, getting taller. And these are kinds you don't have to stake them, which is great. I do have the trellis in here because I had it for the blackberries. So it's just a little added extra support. So, and the birds like the trellis and you can see they pooped on it. Lovely. Here's our wild raspberry that's doing really, really well. Putting on a lot of growth and a lot of blossoms. So hopefully we'll be getting some fruit later in the summer. It's looking really, really good. This is the pilgrim rose that we planted. It is a climbing rose, and so I'm kind of training it. I put this here so that the people that cut the grass don't chop it down because it's still tiny. But hopefully I can get it to train it to be on this fence and look beautiful. So we planted the Electra heuchera here. It might be a little too sunny for this because it's supposed to have red in it. So I might have to move these and maybe come up with another idea for this area. We'll see. And I do have to do some weeding. It's amazing how fast the weeds come in. So I'll have to tackle that. But as I mentioned before, the Osmanthus Party Lights tea olive is doing well, and it's putting on a new foliage of red growth and looking very festive. So my poor plum tree, I did spray it for leaf curl, and I don't know, it's pretty bad. I'll have to try that again next year. Maybe I missed one, but this is actually the worst the leaf curl has looked since I've had the tree. But it also might be because I did cut off a significant piece of it, so it might have been in a little bit of shock. So I want to see what happens next year after it recovers from its limb amputation. But we do have some peaches on here, and I'm going to have to come up with some kind of system here for this as well, so that the squirrels don't eat them all. Oh, ladybug. So that the squirrels don't eat them all like they did last year. But there are quite a bit of peaches on here. So I did do some trimming on the goji berry bush to kind of neaten it up a bit, cutting out all the loose stuff down at the bottom, the drapey stuff at the bottom, clearing out the weeds from around it and the leaves. So hopefully we will get a good amount of goji berries this year, now that I know what they are. Coming back to the woodland garden area, we did some work clearing out some weeds here, but things have been flushing out very nicely. I can now see the ferns without having to squint from the house, and they're looking wonderful. And my hosta is doing wonderfully as well. I have to get the name of that, but I just love the chartreuse and green leaves on it. I have several ferns in this area. I just purchased a new fern, which will be coming up in an upcoming video. We did a couple of trips to some nurseries. Well, one trip to a couple of nurseries. So I will be showing that in an upcoming video. Going over here, and I just love the painted ferns. I really, really love the painted ferns. They're gorgeous. And this is the heuchera. It's putting up some really tall flower spikes. And another fern. We still have some lingering daffodils that are fading out. And then in the back corner here, we planted the carex together a little while ago, about a week and a half ago. So, and the blooms are starting to fade on the Jack Frost Brunnera, but it still looks lovely. And then we'll have the wonderful foliage to carry us through the season as well. And these hellebore are going to seed. This is a cinnamon fern. I think this is my cinnamon. And you can see that the fronds are a beautiful cinnamony color. Well, I forget what they're called. I'll get the name of that as they're starting to unfurl. So I'm loving this heuchera. It is putting its flower spikes up as well. And I think this is the wild berry heuchera. I think that's the name of it. If it's not, I will put the name up. And Grandmom's rose bush is doing lovely. Her birthday was in July, and this blooms like towards the end of June into the beginning of July, which is a nice reminder of her. And here, my dianthus that I've talked so much about, the ginormous one, is putting out its blooms. So like I said, this one I believe is called Bath's Pink. And it has these really pretty pale pink flowers, but I love the color, the burgundy color of the flower buds, and it is loaded for bear. We cut back this liriope, and it is starting to flesh out. We also have the sedum that is coming out, and this half of the candy tuft has seen better days, so I'm going to trim that back so maybe we can get a new flush later in the season from that. But this side is doing brilliantly. And here's our Thuja pancake arborvitae, doing well. Here's another sedum that's doing brilliantly. And dianthus that's going to be, this is a double dianthus. And this is the biggest it's gotten and the tallest. So it should be really, really beautiful with its double blooms. And then this liriope that we trimmed back is doing really, really well and fleshing out beautifully. And this is the herb garden of the fenced-in garden area. Kind of thinking about changing the name to the immersive garden, because once everything fleshes out, it's just really beautiful to be in here surrounded by all the plants. You can walk around amongst them with the path, and it's just really nice. So what do you guys think about that? Instead of the fenced-in garden, having it be called the immersive garden. Let me know what you guys think. So here's the sage. It's the lavender we trimmed back, and it's fleshing out, and the sage is doing brilliantly. And of course, my massive garlic chives are doing wonderfully. And I did mention in a previous video that the tarragon has showed up. It didn't die, which is awesome. And here's a little stray oregano. And here's some more oregano. This is the main plant. And then I have lemon balm here. And if you can see this sawdust, I have about 1.5 million carpenter bees. They fight, and then there's one that actually, I don't know, I think it's a drone. It just shows up and flies in my face and won't go away. They don't sting, so I'm not afraid of it or anything like that, but it's just is kind of amusing that they're all over the place. And here, this is the rose that we did the really super hard prune on. It is fleshing out, and I think it might actually put a little bit of flowers out for us this year. So that would be nice to see. Opposite side of the path, going back, you can see everything is coming up and flushing out. Here's another Thuja pancake, and this is a phlox that is doing really well. The daisies are coming up nicely. And you can see this is I'm gonna pinch this off. Oh, it's gonna be a double flower. This is the scabiosa that we got from Gasper, and the first Gasper haul, which is lovely. And you can see the Amsonia Blue Star is putting out its flower buds. Like I said before, the Heliopsis is doing well. Oh, and here, this is one of the original Scabiosa. You can see this one is more pink, and this one is actually more blue. Well, it doesn't show up on camera. It's really like a beautiful, like lavender blue color that you can't see. In the middle here are the irises that I showed in the mid-April tour. They are done, but it was really, really nice to see them. Looking forward to seeing them next year. The Heliopsis is coming up well. Finally, the penstemon is very tall. It's probably about mid-thigh height on me. So really excited to see that this is actually going to bloom this year. And here are black-eyed Susans coming up with some more phlox. And here is an Asiatic lily coming up. And as we pointed out before, this is the red daylily that is doing very well. Here's one of the knockout roses that we trimmed back that is doing really, really well. It's flushing out very nicely, and there are a ton of buds all over it. coming to the back of the garden space, there's more black-eyed Susans, echinacea coming up. These are the apricot Asiatic lilies, and of course my little whipcord arborvitae that I love so much. And forgot to see, these are the balloon flowers that are doing really, really well. The heat came out and everything started just growing really, really fast. So hopefully, if no rabbits come in, we'll have some balloon flowers. Here's a giant patch of black-eyed Susans. And swinging around over here to the little lime hydrangea, which is doing really well, fleshing out nicely, growing tall. To point out, I'd mentioned this earlier on in the videos, but I'm not sure how many remember or no. This patch in here is not weeds. This is an enormous patch of Delosperma or ice plant. It is a fuchsia color, so this whole patch will be colored in iridescent fuchsia flowers that open up to the sun, and it's going to be lovely. Here's the other knockout rose that we pruned back hard in the rose pruning video, and it is doing beautifully with a ton of buds all over it. The Abelia, Kaleidoscope Abelia, is doing really, really well. And here, I'm going to show, oh, he went away. Ooh, he's flying around me. There's one of the carpenter bees. They're everywhere. They have been for the past several years. I don't know. They're good for pollination. And here are the violas and pansies that we have. They have grown up very nice and tall, very beautiful, and they smell really, really good. It's going to get too hot for them soon, so I'm going to have to switch out my containers and put in my summer annuals, but I don't have the heart to do that right now because it looks so, so pretty. The path around here is the other daylily that I'm going to have to divide this soon. Yeah, this one and the other one. I divided it, each of them before, which is how I got daylilies down in the long border, but I'm going to have to do it again and find a place or someone to give them to. And here's another penstemon. It's kind of the mirror on the other side of it. We have the phlox and black-eyed Susan, and we have the Amsonia, and here is a little one of the original Scabiosa down there, and here's the new one that we planted. And here's a Shasta daisy, and the pattern kind of repeats through. So we have some of these dianthus here in the front. I have a kind of an alternating row of dianthus in the front, but we have these that are blooming and looking beautiful. If they could focus on that, looking gorgeous. These right here are more of the key lime, so they will be white and yellow. And we planted this together. This is my Agastaki or Agastache, however you prefer to pronounce it. Piquito orange. And here is, oh, they move too fast. Our carpenter bee's fighting above my head. But look at this beautiful dianthus. I just love the frosting on the leaves. I'm not sure if you guys can see that, but it looks really, really pretty. So they are blooming really well. Oh, there's a hummingbird. Oh my gosh. I don't know if I caught that at all. It just flew in front of me. That's the first hummingbird of the season, and that is awesome. I hope maybe that flew in front of the camera. You guys can see it. I'll have to check the footage when I'm done. But here again, more dianthus blooming out. And so that is the fenced-in garden or immersive garden. Okay, so the last areas of the tour are the twin beds by the deck steps. I'm not sure what dug that. That was not like that a little bit ago. I don't know what got in there. Probably a squirrel. But here we planted the this month we planted azure blue geranium, and this is constant beauty pink dianthus, and we planted the cat's pajamas catmint and the chick charm sempervivum here. This rose bush did not make it, but I did get a replacement for it, so I will be showing that in an upcoming video. So the sneezeweed is doing really well coming up, and this is my tiny wine 9-bark that's doing really well. The gardenia is doing really well, diamond spire gardenia, and the Peter Cottontail yarrow is doing well, although I think it has aphids, so I will be spraying that. I'm gonna wait for after the rains to die down, but yeah, I will be spraying that. And these tete-a-tete daffodils are done. I'll wait for the foliage to die back. But then we have the pots here that we planted up with the Johnny Jump Up violas and the yellow violas. And then here is the mirroring bed to that. And everything is coming in really nicely. This rose bush, I do believe, is going to make it. I'm going to cut off the dead, but I think it'll survive and bounce back. Ending our tour is Riley with his summer haircut and the planter that we planted up of the annuals. Thank you for coming along with me on this end of April garden tour. It is very exciting to see all the things that are growing and budding out during the season. With the warmer temperatures, things are coming out so much quicker. I'd love to hear what's going on in your garden space, to see what do you have that's growing out much faster. How are things going in your area? My heart goes out to all those who are suffering difficulties due to the weather. I really, you're in my thoughts and my prayers. So my heart goes out to you guys. And I really appreciate this community. Thank you for all of the likes and the shares and the subscriptions and the comments. And I'm really enjoying the space. So I hope you guys are doing well. And I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Bye-bye.